Hey, peace world. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. My name is Wood. Please hit that subscribe button if you like the way that any of the topics or subjects are being broken down, discussed, or analyzed. Hit that like button, share the content, make a comment. I'd love to chop it up with you. Any engagement is encouraged and welcomed. Boxing is back. I'm going to get into some bite down boxing content. This June 10th. So let's look at one thing first. I did see yesterday where Golden Boys, was it lightweight, Ryan Garcia is is being vocal about not like his disapproval of his what they're talking about paying him for this early July fight. The number that I believe he threw out there was $200,000, and he thinks that's beneath him. I believe Indio, is the location. He's been there before, but there won't be any crowd this time around. Still, no opponent has been settled upon. I don't think the Linares thing is gonna happen, but I bring this up because looking at last night, I don't know what Shakur Stevenson made, but here's a young man that's saying what he doesn't want to do, and I'm not so sure that he's cognizant of all of the factors at play. Like, everybody's probably taking a haircut right now. Now, I guess he would know best what his bag has been in previous outings, and maybe even factoring in there not being a crowd. Maybe there is some credence to his grievance, but I don't know. I think last night is emblematic of the fact that some of these guys might have to work with. They might have to work with the game. I'm not gonna harp on that for too long, but it's just interesting to see what he's talking about and where his position is versus what I saw last night. So let's go on and get into it. It was 5 fights headlined by Shakur Stevenson due to Michaela Mayer having a positive COVID-19 test. She did not fight. Also, their coach that all of these fighters, the A sides, or the majority of the A sides, that worked under Coach K. Karama, dating back to their relationship with him coming out of USA Boxing. K. Karama, what do they call it? Contact tracing. So I don't even believe he was tested. It was just a matter of fact that he'd been in contact with Michaela, so he was not allowed to participate last night. Let's talk about some of that real quick. First of all, I hope boxing fans don't be so smart and don't be in such a rush to tell the world what you know about boxing. I don't know how you can sit here and complain about the level of competition. I see Teddy Atlas out there comparing boxing to UFC. You got a world champion fighter with the future, with his whole future ahead of him. A guy being touted as a pound for pound, a number one pound for pound fighter. Coming off of this awkward camp, unable to get the best of sparring partners out there, because that would be compromising kind of this sterile situation that you needed to get to fight night, to get to fight week, to get to fight night. So the sparring will be limited. They'd only been in camp maybe 4 or 5 weeks, and so on and so forth. Like, what did anybody really expect? Could they have put together some kind of pay-per-view on the ESPN Plus and given us, a better opponent, and it had been a discounted, heavily discounted pay-per-view? card. I don't think anybody had the time to weigh all of that out versus let me bring this back. Let me get some good names in here. You're watching a world champion, although his belt wasn't on the line, against was Felix Caraballo. But then you see the two heavyweights with Jared Anderson out of Toledo, Ohio. Guido Vianello was another guy that Top Rank's been featuring quite a bit. He was in action. Robeisy Ramirez, the Cuban two-time Olympic gold medalist, opened things up. Like I said, if you're just sitting here complaining, that's like my wife is complaining to me when it's cold. I'm here in the Midwest. She's complaining to me when it's cold in the wintertime. And then we finally get to the spring and the summer, and now she's complaining once we try to get outside and get some exercise in and be active. Now she's complaining to me about it being too humid and too hot. I mean, after we're in our mid-40s now, at some point in time, being that we live here in the Midwest, don't you just take the good days and just deal with it? Couldn't we just take this card and just accept it? Especially when you know you have a pretty good card you have pretty good names coming on Thursday night. That's two cards within 72 hours. They're trying to work out the protocol, trying to get see what the viewership is, what those are. And even in going to the Ryan situation, it's not all about what your purse is, but it's about the other fights that they're going to put on the card with you to make it a total evening. So can we all work with one another for a minute? I'm not going to sit here and bash the card and say that it wasn't competitive. Another thing, I saw some comments about since the Michaela fight fell off, it's taking too long. It's too much talking, blah, blah, blah. You haven't seen any of these guys in 3 months, any other on-air talent. Then in the midst of this, as you can see the two cats behind me, Anderson and Shakur, this whole Black Lives Matter, Justice for George Floyd situation is going on. They want to give the guys some airtime to speak on that. Then you have to give the on-air guys some time to speak on that. With Andre Ward and Tim Bradley, discussing things from their perspectives, or offering their perspectives on it. Tim Bradley talking about a moment that he experienced. We just don't want anything nowadays. Just everybody just doesn't want anything. Just come in, just fight. In between fights, it was quite a bit of activity going on to sterilize the ring properly. You saw the crew in there doing that in between fights, if you took time to notice. Also, I did not participate in the HearMeCheer.com feature, but I thought that was dope. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not even trying to say the glass is half full all the time. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I really did not notice that there was no crowd in there. And maybe that's just from watching part of the UFC cards. I saw bits and pieces of it. I watched a couple of tennis matches with no crowds there. That was different. But I heard some of the cheering from the HearMeCheer.com sounds in there. I thought the studio layout was busy but interesting, with all of the screens in there and all of the LED lighting and whatnot. I thought most of that was dope. I heard Gangstar in the background 2 times, along with the other music, Tupac for Shakur Stevenson. I thought Jared Anderson might have had a good song that I liked, but I can't remember what it was. But I really didn't even notice, and the fighters didn't seem to notice there not being any crowd. Another reason why it might not have been such a big shock to me is the fact that the last Showtime card that we saw with headlined by Brandon Lee, that also had no crowd, and I just remember that experience. So that just wasn't something that I was focusing on. So I was writing. The article was out there. My recap article was out there at bitedownboxing.com. Feel free to check that out. Maybe because I was doing that, all of these other issues were non-issues for me. And then, like I said, I thought the fighters, and I'm getting ready to get into it, I thought the fighters conducted themselves like it was a normal fight. So let's jump into that. First up was Robeisy Ramirez against Andujar. Coming back from losing your first fight, you got to get cooking quick. You have to put that loss so far behind you and in the memories of the public. I mean, that's what the with the holding on to your O and being undefeated and whatnot, and that being part of the marketing for these fighters, it's probably a lot of pressure on that young dude to look great. And I liked what I saw, man. He came in and was you could see very on. He was aggressive as hell. He was punching with authority and looking to get Andujar out of there. And it looked like he sized him up pretty quick. I love all the work with the left hand, kind of some looping shots. It was 2 or 3 big left hands that got the first knockdown. This fight did not go past the first round. Ramirez kind of understood what he was dealing with. Andujar gets up, and then moments later, he catches him again with a couple of big left hands, some looping shots. I like the uppercut. Landed that one in there clean to stand him up, and then came back up top with the second uppercut the second left hook or overhand left, I believe it was, to get the stoppage. And no, it wasn't the most competitive fight, but like I said, here's a guy trying to climb back from his 0-1 start. Now moves to 3-1. Looks like the confidence is growing. Guys that you should be getting out of there, get him out of there. So good look for him. Next up was Quantavious Cash from the Contender back in 2018 against Metcalf. I did not write down his first name. I apologize to him. I thought Cash looked great early on. I liked the way he was moving. He was very calm, despite the fact that Metcalf was one of those high contact, come forward, like he's punching. He's throwing punches in while he's stepping and moving forward. Very squared up, very direct approach to get inside where he wanted to be. And I thought Cash was getting his distance, active with the jab early, and was catching him coming in with the left and right hand, with his power hand and his jab. And I just, you're probably coming back from this layoff, and this pressure dude is trying to make you uncomfortable. But I thought he handled it well the first 2 rounds. All of these fights, except for the main event, were only scheduled for 6. So this Cash and Metcalf fight was scheduled for 6 rounds. There was a cut in the second from a clash of heads on Metcalf. This came back to bite him in the 6th round when Jay Nady had that wanted to get the doctor to look at it, and it had started to spread, started to open up more, and was looking pretty bad. And I think the fight was decided at that point. So I thought it was a good decision by Jay Nady. Metcalf it was mostly arm punches and whatnot. Cash had won the fight, so I thought it was a good call to stop it. They did initially think that the cut was open with the punch. They went back and corrected that. Much different situation from how ESPN's on-air people handled the Tyson Fury and Schwartz. Otto Wallin, I'm sorry, cut months ago. But Cash, I think basically by the 3rd round, I think he was more standstill. Good body work at the end of that round. He really laid down on a couple hooks to Metcalf's body, who kept coming. 4th and 5th rounds weren't much different. As like I said, Cash's footwork went away. He seemed to get a little uncomfortable with, Metcalf wasn't trying to hurt him, and wasn't throwing big punches, but was constantly throwing punches and was catching Cash at different times, and it didn't seem like Cash could really, that he didn't have the power, to get him out of there, and so that Metcalf had a pretty good beard on him, and anyway ended up getting the fight, getting the victory, 60-54, 60-55, and then 59-55 for a unanimous decision for Cash. Incidentally, it was his birthday, his late mother's birthday, so kind of an emotional night for him. But a pretty good outing, middleweight action. Moving into Vianello, to Guido Vianello and Don Hainsworth, I believe, was the heavyweight cat's, his opponent's name. Vianello looked good on his toes, moving around, using the whole ring. He's 6'6". I forget what weight he was, but he was jabbing well. Double combinations with the left hand, up and down, working up and down. Saw him kind of getting to some different angles to take advantage of Hainsworth, who they mentioned had a late start in boxing. I think the guy was like 16, 4-1 or something. But Vianello set up the right hand, the big right hand that he dropped, right like by the ear, under the ear, very vulnerable spot for fighters. As Hainsworth went to go and throw a jab to a left hand jab to the body, and went in there and got a bomb dropped on him. Fell back, kind of awkward. And I think it was Nady again was the referee. Didn't like what he saw when he got up, and waved it off. So not a long night of work for Vianello. The most challenging thing he did was probably had to speak freely, with in the post-fight interview, because he does, he's Italian. But I thought he did a pretty good job. I like what I've seen out of Vianello so far. I mean, he helps make this expanding heavyweight division. Heavyweight honestly might be the deepest division out there. I mean, once you get away from the top guys, the obvious top guys, and then the top 10, it's another 8 or 10 guys that are all in the pipeline that make this division pretty promising. I don't know how the business ever happens to get all of these guys to face each other, but it's a ton of bodies at heavyweight. And Vianello, he might factor in somewhere, maybe not at the championship level per se. Maybe he gets his shot, but I like what I'm seeing. He's constantly developing, and they just need to eventually start stepping him up and going from there. Next, we get to the co-main event. Like I mentioned, was Jared Anderson out of Toledo, Ohio, rocking the Patriots gear. Had the Tom Brady jersey on earlier in the night. He went in against Johnny Langston out of Florida. Anderson looked damn good, man. I mean, I like that Langston wasn't, he wasn't a guy that came in and looked bad physically just when he disrobed, took his t-shirt off and whatnot. Wasn't a flabby guy, wasn't the biggest guy, not the most powerful puncher. But I liked everything that I saw from Jared Anderson. The only thing is, just like we saw with Jaron Ennis and Ayubov Bakhtiar Ayubov in his last fight, the one thing that I do question, the one concern that I have is, was Anderson comfortable with who he was facing and the level of power, and he wanted to make his statement win, so he accepted a couple of those shots, trying to get the big finish that he wanted to get? Or is this some blind spots for him that he's getting caught and being a little overzealous, being a little anxious? Because Langston caught him a few times coming in and was punching inside of his punches and landed a couple of good shots that Anderson took pretty well. One or two of them kind of like threw him off his balance as his momentum was kind of going that way. But he took a couple of good shots, man. And, against a more dangerous puncher, you'd like to see, because he came forward the whole time and didn't really vary how he came through the front door. It was always just straight in, behind the jab, and then getting to work. But I mean, like, to repeat it the same way, it was allowing. I felt that it allowed Langston to plan for that and to connect. And again, you don't want to take those flush shots. Add in some feints. You just came out of camp with Tyson Fury, who really wasn't working on his feint game, as we learned on Fight Night with Deontay Wilder. But throw them feints in there. Make a guy like Langston, make him miss and make him pay. Get off to the sides and work those angles a little bit. Don't be so squared up. But again, his uppercut, right hook, and just his whole, I call it like what wide receivers have, or his punch dictionary, or his wide receivers call it the route tree. His punch tree, like the way he was setting his combinations up, the work rate, the pressure, good footwork. I was impressed, man. And then he was really dope on the microphone. Sound like a humble kid. Let me stay in the gym. I was highly impressed, man. And he's from Ohio, obviously, but he gets the third round TKO. Very accurate against Langston. Hitting him with a ton of clean shots. I think he was 24 or 40 in the final round. 68 or 138 in power shots over the course of the 3 rounds. And just really overwhelmed Langston. Anderson's 20 years old, I believe. Overwhelming. Look good, man. Look good. Hope he can get back, in the next 3 months or something, and get some more work in before the end of 2020. Kind of interesting that the Sonny Canto cat out of PA, not to see his name in the mix for any of these fights. Not that I know of, but he's another top ranked heavyweight. I think that moved Jared Anderson to 4-0. Canto's like 5 or 6-0. I don't think any more than 7-0. But I'd like to see his name thrown in here, if possible. Get him back to work. Moving into the final, to the main event, man. Shakur Stevenson against Felix Caraballo. This one was also stopped in the 6th round. Big left hook to the body in the midst of some punches that Caraballo was trying to let go. I thought Stevenson looked great. His obviously we saw the hand speed difference right away. But his ring generalship, his boxing IQ, his style, everything was just, he had it in spades against Felix Caraballo. He looked very very accurate for the first time back, although he was training for the Mariaga fight, which was supposed to go down the weekend that boxing shut down. He was one of the first fights affected by the COVID-19 situation. But yeah, man, I mean, every round was about the same. I thought somewhere there in the 3rd or 4th round, I thought they could have stopped it and it wouldn't have been a bad look. But we get to the 6th round, and that's when the knockout came. That was Caraballo's second loss. On the media conference call that happened Monday, Shakur said that he watched one round of the guy and recognized the levels that existed between him and this guy. And he showed that in the fight. So I thought it was a pretty good performance by him. I'm not too down that the fight wasn't more competitive. Like I said, I thought there was a couple of times where, he had Caraballo staggering and kind of staring down at his, at his feet. Looked like he was getting looked like he was being fought by 2 men at some point, at some points there. And for him to make it into the 6th round, you know, he didn't just show up to get a check. You know, he tried to compete. Although, like I said, he was heavily outgunned, and Stevenson picks up knockout number 8. So that's that. Like I said, I enjoyed the night, man. Everything that Top Rank tried to do, pumping in the noise from the HearMeCheer.com, I thought that was a dope idea. I don't know if it had any effect on the fighters. Like I said, everybody just looked to handle their business. I really didn't notice it, man. Not tonight. Tomorrow night, they're back. Jesse Magdaleno, former world champion, as well as Adam Blue Nose Lopez in action. Not too familiar with any other names on the cards. Same building, the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. That's about it, man. Let me get on off here. Thanks for checking out the video. Congratulations on boxing being back. And we'll see what happens out here. Hey, man, bite down boxing. Don't let them count you out. Pay me no mind. Sports and entertainment. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. I don't have my outro music, but oh well. Stay safe. Be smart. Take care. Till next time. Peace.